my name is Pablo Molina. I represent the European Biogas Association, where I'm leading the work on biogenic CO2, looking at the market and technological developments. And we've also got I'm leading the internal working group on specifically biogenic CO2.
And you're here at our European CO2 Summit 2025 in Rotterdam. Just very briefly, what was your presentation on stage all about?
Yes, so I came here to introduce ourselves to the CO2 industry, where we're trying to collaborate with them. So we've got quite a big potential of biomethane, and also because of that big potential of biogenic CO2. And under this process, you already have a separation. You must separate the CO2 from the biomethane. And we've got a big potential. In 2023, there was a production of biogenic CO2 from biogases of 29 million tons, which represents roughly 71% of the CO2 demand in Europe. So we are here to try to unlock this potential, because even though we have a high production, not all of this is realistically is not being exploited the way it should be done. So that's the reason we're here, to collaborate and see how the two worlds can meet in between and bring this to the future.
Great, and we have seen some fantastic collaboration across this event in our exhibition hall and in our sessions as well. A broad question perhaps, but very briefly, what does the biogas market currently look like?
Yes, so that's in 2023 we had a production of 22 billion cubic meters of biogases. When we talk about biogases, we're referring to biogas and biomethane combined. And you might be wondering, what does this actually represent? So this is equal to more than the current production of Belgium, Denmark and Ireland combined, three very important countries in our continent. We can also do another comparison. This is equal to 7% of the natural gas consumption in Europe. So this gives you a really good idea of how biomethane and biogases market are helping us to decarbonize and to break that dependency from fossil inputs.
Sure, and you mentioned it earlier, but I'd like to ask you about potential now and to expand on that slightly. What does the potential across Europe look like for biogas?
Yeah, so we've done a study together with Guidehouse, like an external consultant, where we calculated the biomethane potential from anaerobic digestion and gasification. And we are expecting the potential can reach up to 40 BCM of biomethane in Europe. And the main leading countries that we see on the list, Germany, of course, followed by France, Spain, United Kingdom is also involved. And there's going to be some needed work from the policy side to secure this 2030 potential. And a lot of work has to be done on that side, but also in terms of permitting from the national governments to speed up these permittings, and definitely on the R&D sector to also boost up the sector and reach out and capture those biomass sources where it's still not being utilized at its fullest.
Okay, sure. And keeping with a geographical look, are there any locations worldwide that are perhaps up and coming in the biogas sector?
Indeed, we've also done another study. It's called the Investment Outlook. So where we've seen the future investments are coming for 2027. So we know that around 27 billion euros have been earmarked to be invested in the biomethane sector. And the leading countries here are Italy, Poland and Denmark. In some of them, the biomethane sector is already quite established. Others emerging like Poland, where there's a lot of good potential and a big investment coming ahead. And Spain, due to its great potential, the third highest in Europe, it's also been looked at in terms of a really good potential market.
Sure. Another big topic here across the last 2 days has been biogenic CO2. So how is the European Biogas Association currently working within bio-CO2?
As I mentioned earlier in the interview, we started our task force, an internal task force, to specifically tackle this topic. Where we're looking at the technical and economics behind it, looking at the barriers, what is needed to be done, how we can surpass these challenges. And on that work, on that specific task force, we will do a mapping of all the different biomethane plants which are capturing, utilizing, storing, or doing both. So that map will be followed, of course, by a white paper looking at the status quo of the technology, what are the economics behind it, and how can this big potential that I mentioned before be unlocked. And the different markets that biomethane operators might be that can target and use that biogenic sources. And this will also be followed by a webinar, should be in September, more or less, that this work will be published.
Okay, great. And you mentioned barriers and challenges there, and I guess the overarching barrier is scaling up the biogas and the biogenic CO2 market. So how exactly do we begin to scale up this market?
I believe collaboration with the supplies, with the fossil supplies are already there, with the experts who've been on the CO2 industry is a good starting point. That's the reason we're happy for the invitation from gasworld. From the policy side, having clear perspectives for the investors is a necessary step, because they need to know how they can de-risk their investment. And the less clarity there is on the policy, in the markets, this will scare the investors from the biomethane and thus from the biogenic CO2. We also have to look at the logistics, because a big majority of the biomethane plants are quite scattered around rural areas. And this creates a problem in terms of how do you move these CO2 quantities towards an industrial off-taker. And thirdly, and last one, is the certification of biogenic CO2. So recognizing that value of biogenic CO2 when compared to fossil sources, and also allowing that trade registry. In this sense, we will have a necessary cross-border trade around Europe, which will also help develop a proper market.
Great, thank you for that. And final question, if you had a message to those watching who maybe weren't in the room yesterday during your presentation, what would your message to them be?
Biogenic CO2 from biomethane is there. We need to unlock this potential, and collaboration will be necessary. We are here to do that, to reach out to all the fossil sources and non-fossil sources to tell you that we've got a great potential of 29 million tons that we produce in 2023, and this will only increase 10 times by 2050. So if you want to collaborate and bring this forward, please reach out to us.
Great. Well, Pablo, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Thomas.